Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're here for the first time, do well to subscribe to my channel, like my videos and turn on the notification bell so you get notified when I drop a new video. On today's tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make this nice crochet vest. Stay tuned and don't go anywhere. So for this tutorial, I used a yaya cone for this vest, and I used 3.5mm hook. So you can go ahead and use 3mm or you can use 4, but I prefer to use 3.5 because I don't want my vest to be too wide and I don't want it to be too slacky. So that's why I used 3.5, and I already made the back panel. We're going to be working on the front panel where we're going to make our v-neck. So I started off first with my ribbon for the band and then worked down to the body of the outfit. So for the rib part, I used half double crochet back loop only. So first of all, I chained 10 plus 1 as my returning chain, and then I worked half double crochet into all the chains down to the very end. So to begin your chain, first of all, you're going to make a slip knot and insert your hook through there and make your chain to the very length you want. So if you want your band to be bigger, you can make 15 chains, 12 chains, or even 20. But I don't want my band to be very big, so I just made 10 chains and added 1 extra as my returning chain. So to begin my half double crochet, I yarned over and insert my hook in the second chain from the hook, and I'm going to pull through from there, and I'm going to be having 3 loops on my hook, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. That's how to make a half double crochet. And this is what it looks like after I was done with this very first part. So I took a measurement of this new part I made with the previous panel to be very sure I didn't stretch my tension too much to make it bigger or it's not too small. So then I'm going to move over to the next row. To make your half double crochet back loop, you just have to chain 1, turn your work and insert your hook in the back loop only. So yarn over, insert your hook in the very first stitch, back loop only, and pull through. You're going to have 3 loops like before, and you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So go ahead and do this until you get to the very length of the previous panel you're working with, and make sure this panel is not bigger and it's not smaller than the previous one so you can have a perfect size. And don't forget, work with the measurements you got from your clients. while you're watching the tutorial, be sure to have your measurements in check. So I got to the very length of the previous one, and this is me checking to be sure I have my measurement correctly. Now the reason why my measuring tape is not here is because I've already done the first panel, so I'm just using the first panel to keep the other panel in check. So this is me making sure it's lying flat and on the same size with the previous one. So after making sure my measurement is right, I started working on the body. So for some persons, they can decide to make a single crochet stitch before starting off the mesh, but for me, I didn't bother doing that. So I just went on with my mesh down to the other side of the dress. So for this mesh, I did 4 chains and I insert my hook in the second line of the ribbon I did before. So you're just going to make sure you count and check where you're going to have your hook pass through and insert your hook there and make your double crochet. So you chain 1, you do that in the next, you chain 1, you do that in the next. So this mesh I used for this project is a chain 1 space mesh. So if you find this pattern difficult, you can as well just make sure you do a single crochet as a base so you can know which stitch to skip and which stitch not to skip. But if you can go through with this, you're just going to insert your hook randomly into the lines from the ribbon. So I'm going to do this all the way down till I get to the very end of this row. So I'm almost on the very last parts here, so I'm just going to chain 1, insert my hook and make my double crochet stitch. So guys, if you find this tutorial helpful and you like what you're seeing, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like my video, share with your friends, and turn on the notification bell so you get notified whenever I drop a new video. So for the next row, I'm going to make 4 chains, and these 4 chains count as a double crochet and a chain 1 space. Now for this project, I am not going to be working with the stitches from the previous rows, but I am going to be working with the chain spaces from the previous rows. So for this next row, after my chain 4, I'm going to insert my hook in the chain 1 space from the previous row, and I'm going to place 1 double crochet there, and then I'm going to make 1 chain and then place another double crochet into the next chain 1 space from the previous row. So I'm going to work this all the way down to the very last chain 1 space that I would have on this row, and I'm going to meet you back once I get there. So to make my armhole part, I did some decreasing to have this curve for my armhole. So I'm going to work this other panel up to this very point where I did my decreasing, so I can show you guys how I did my decreasing to have this curve here. So in order not to make it too dramatic or not neat at all, I did my increases from inside. So if you check the sides of my dress, you're not going to see anywhere where I did the increasing. So I got to the 24th row, which was my last row before my decrease row. So I'm going to make 4 chains as my returning chain. That's 1 double crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet in the very first chain 1 space, chain 1, 1 double crochet in the next, chain 1, 1 double crochet in the next, chain 1, and I'm going to make these 2 spaces together. So how do I do that? I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook here, pull up a loop, insert into the next, pull up a hook loop. I have 4 loops here, yarn over, put through the first 3 loops, yarn over, put through the last 2. So these 2 have now become 1 stitch. Chain 1, into the next, chain 1, into the next, chain 1, and I'm going to make another decrease here. So that's two decreases on one side, making 1, 2 decreases on one side and 2 decreases on the other side. So I'll meet you back when I get to the other side of this row, where I'm going to make my next decrease stitch. So I got to the other side where I'll be placing my next decrease stitches. So I'm going to do the same thing I did in the previous side to make a decrease. You're going to insert your hook in the very first stitch, pull up a loop, and then insert into the next and pull up a loop. You're going to have 4 loops, and then you yarn over, pull through the first 3, and then yarn over, pull through the last. So don't forget, this is how to do your decrease. Now once you're working, make sure you do your decrease on both sides, so it's going to give it an equal decreasing once you're working. So because I don't want my decrease to be very much on this piece, the next row I'm going to work without a decrease, and the next row I'm going to make a decrease. So I'm going to start working on the V parts. When I get to a particular level, I'm going to start working on the V parts. It's just going to be a very small V shape, not a very wide one. So I finished up one part of the front panel, because once you get to where you want to make your V shape, you're going to now work on 2 different sides and then leaving the middle side open. So I finished up with the first one, and then I'm going to be working on the second one. That's where I'm going to show you guys how to do the second part. So all you have to do is count your stitches all the way down, so you know how many you have, and then divide it into 2, and then count, leave some space in the middle, like 6 spaces, to make your V shape. So I counted mine, and I used 15 spaces to do my other sides. So for the middle I have just 6. So this is me counting to make sure I have 15 spaces left, and I'm going to attach my yarn here and start off my new row. So when you want to begin your new row, make sure you tie your yarn firm on the previous stitches you have before, to make sure you don't have loose ends later. And as usual, I'm going to chain up 4, which counts as 1 double crochet, chain 1, and I'm going to insert double crochets in each of the chain 1 spaces. So chain 4, 1 double crochet in the chain 1 space, chain 1, 1 double crochet in the next chain 1 space. So I'm going to work this all the way down to the other side, and I'm going to do 15 rows of this, because that was exactly the same thing I did on the other side. So I finished off, and this is what it looks like, the front and the back panel. So what is left is to sew them together. So I'm going to sew the shoulder, and then I'm going to sew the sides down to the armhole part, and I'm going to meet you back once I am done sewing. So when you want to do your sewing for your panels, you can either use a smaller hook or use your yarn needle to do the sewing. So for me, I used my hook to sew, because I like using my hook to sew, because I just want to be on the safe side, just in case I have to loosen them for any reason. Then I would just know, okay, this is going to be easy for me to loosen. But if you like, you can use your yarn needle to sew. It still doesn't make any difference. it's still the same sewing. Just make sure you sew them properly. So I'm going to show you guys how to sew with both a yarn needle and how to sew with your hook. So to sew with your hook, you're going to attach your yarn, tie at this very edge, and insert your hook from one side to the other side and pull up a loop and pull through. So you can either use single crochet or slip stitch to sew. While if you want to sew with your needle, all you have to do is insert your needle still from one end to the other side and sew your panels together. But make sure while sewing you're hiding the ends that you have there, but if you can't, it's still fine. You just cut them off later and burn, or whichever way you have to do it. But just make sure you have a very clean and neat sewing once you're done. So this is what it looks like after I was done sewing the shoulders together, and man, this is beautiful. I hope you guys like what you're seeing, and I hope yours is turning out as nice as this or even better. So we'll go over to sewing the other sides together to have a finished look. And just like before, you can just attach your needle, tie your yarn and sew together. You can also use your crochet hook to sew. So I'm just going to do this and then try it on my mannequin and see what it looks like. So while sewing, make sure you're sewing on the wrong side of your piece. And the wrong side, I mean where you have your sewing from the shoulder already. You just use that as the wrong side of your work. So this was what it looks like after sewing. So I'm just going to attach the ribbons to it and I'll show you what it looks like after that. So guys, I finished attaching all the ribbons to my outfit and this is what it looks like. So thank you guys for watching, and if you find this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and you can also drop a comment of what other tutorial you would want me to drop on my channel so you can learn from. Do well to subscribe, like and share this video if you find it helpful. Thank you.